Welcome in to another episode of the My Two Bits Gators football podcast. I am one of your hosts, Ben, joined as always by your other host, Mr. Randy. Randy, how are we feeling? I asked you
B.
last week if you were hot enough. I probably was premature.
Tell you what, it is hot in her, even though it's not the ATL. But some are all staying hot. Got another recruit today, rounding out the blue chips, as you mentioned earlier, off the camera. But overall, all is well in Gatorland, my man. How are you?
Yeah, man, good. Doing okay, staying busy, that's for sure. But 17 blue chips now tied for the lead. Well, for rivals anyway, tied for
Rival,
lead.
yeah.
But still somehow the eighth ranked class. So you make it make sense. I can't, but
Yeah.
whatever. Pretty happy with it though. To be
Yeah.
leading tied for lead in blue chips is pretty impressive stuff. And still potentially more to come. So we'll see what happens. But pretty interesting stuff. Five DBs now in this class, corners or safeties, I think. Maybe even six with this latest edition. It's wild. Definitely stacking up some DBs, which is great because we are a little thin there. We'll talk about that stuff. But
Yeah.
to that end, let's get into it. Tonight's episode, number 92, is the top 11 best players on offensive defense for the 2026 Florida Gators. So you may have heard that Summerall did this exercise with his staff. He had them do a best 11, right? And I'm not sure if it was for offense and defense respectively or not, but that's the way we decided to do it. And he just wanted them to list, regardless of position, right? Wasn't a best at each position or anything like that. It was just the best 11, top to bottom, on the team. And again, we're doing it for both sides of the ball. But we wanted to go through and do this because we thought it would be a productive exercise. But before I get into all that, as always, start us off here. Intro, mission, accuracy, disclaimer, vision, and agenda. Our intro, of course, provide factual analysis of all things, or our intro, our mission, sorry, provide factual analysis of all things Florida Gator football. Our accuracy disclaimer is that our information will be accurate to the best of our possible ability. We will cite our sources whenever we use them, and statistical data comes from either ESPN or stats.ncaa.org, and recruiting data from on3.com or rivals, as just mentioned. Our vision is to have unfiltered conversation around the product on the field, as well as recruiting and overall coaching decisions. And our analysis will be based on review of film. And while we will express opinion, that opinion should always be based in some form of fact. We will also evaluate strategy and tactics and discuss our observation of player personnel decisions, as well as on the field execution. Okay. So agenda for tonight is first and foremost, why is this a good exercise? What's the benefit of it? We'll discuss that a little bit. Then we will do our top 11 on defense first, compare the lists that we have for each other, and then our top 11 on offense. And then we'll make some observations from both at the end of each one of these that kind of reveal some things about each one of the lists, I think, based on what we've seen. And then from there, we will wrap things up and close it out. So pretty short and sweet agenda, but definitely some content to get into here. So
Yeah.
I'll let you open this up. Talk to me on your thoughts of why this is a good exercise in general for the team, for coaches, right? Where's the benefit here and where does that lie?
So a couple of things. As you postured that question to me, I thought about how things were done previously. I don't want to bring up PTSD, but at the end of the day, thinking about how a lot of coaches have this unique ability to say, hey, here's my system, here's my process, here's my all that jazz, and we're going to do this. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I think is clear, Summerall, he understands the job, he understands the mission. But in addition to that, he knows what he said at the podium in his opening press conference. He understands what we need to do, not just on the defense side of the football, especially the offensive side of the football. Those of you may have heard, may have saw the clip talking about Summerall looking at Florida's tape last year. He nearly fell asleep. Ooh. So that was what it was. So this is a good exercise because it helps to point out the strong ones, okay? The ones who maybe made it through the gauntlet, the ones who were more physically tough. But also, the other thing that's going to be unique about this is helping highlight some of those players. And as it unfolds at the season, putting them in specific situations, right? So we talk about situational football. We talk about the players that need to be on the field, personnel decisions at particular times. This is a crucial for that. And maybe that's why Summerall did it with a staff. Maybe that's why it makes sense. To me, it makes a lot of sense because these are some of the players that we expect a lot of this fall. And so it's going to be really interesting to see if we get the quasi ROI back from them, or they are going to be as contributive and as impactful as we think they are.
Yep. Absolutely, absolutely. No, I think I mean, those are good points and a good take. I think also it helps give you a better assessment of what position groups are really the strongest, right? We think we know that, right? Coaching staff might think they know that, but this really helps kind of put that in perspective and maybe figure that out. We'll have some thoughts on that after we get done doing our review, right? And I think also it maybe helps coaches look at players that maybe they weren't looking at as much for playing time or rotational play or whatever the case might be. Maybe they weren't initially perceived that way, right? But if we take a look at this, maybe this guy should be a part of the two deep or even a starter, right? Depending on what we're talking about. I think all of those things can potentially be impacted, be affected, right, as a part of this process if it's done right, right? If you do it
Yeah.
in a way that's genuine and that you're really looking at it and that you're going through and trying to do your best eval. So to that end, to talk about how we went about doing this, again, we did it for both defense and offense, and we wanted to make sure that we were running down the lists on both sides. So typically, when we do these things, we do not discuss this prior. We did
Right.
not discuss the actual making of the list prior, but we made our lists up and then we did have to go through and discuss them because we needed to see where we were different, where we were the same, so that we knew kind of what we needed to talk about when we got on here in terms of those similarities and differences, right? So obviously, you and I know that, but want to make sure everybody else does. So we have discussed some of this stuff prior, not necessarily what we're going to talk about in those regards, but just knowing where we were different, where we were the same. And it's interesting because we definitely had some differences in the lower parts of the list, but as they
Mhm.
got closer to the top, it really started to align. And I think you'll see that as we go here. So to that end, we'll start off with defense, as mentioned. What we're going to do is I'm going to read my 11 from 11 to 1, and then Randy will do his as well. And then we will talk about where we differ, why we differ, where we're the same, why we're the same, all that stuff. So starting off for me at number 11, I have Ben Hanks coming off the bench. Maybe, maybe not. We'll talk about that. But I do have Ben Hanks here. I think he's talented enough to crack this list just barely, but I do think he's there right now in terms of where he can be, and that's based on several factors that we'll get into. Number 10 is Brendan Bett. Number 9, Joseph Mbachu. Number 8, LJ McCray. Number 7, Cormani McLean. Number 6, Bryce Thornton. Number 5, Dijon Johnson. Number 4, Jaden Robinson. 3, Aaron Childs. 2, Jaden Woods. 1, Miles Graham. To no one's surprise who's heard me before on this podcast. But anyway, all right. So those are my top 11. What do you have, sir, as your top 11?
You got it. Here we go. All right. 11, starting off Kanye Clark.
Ah,
10, Cam Dooley. 9, Cameron James. 8, Brendan Bett. 7, Dijon Johnson. At 6, Cormani McLean, aka Boulders for Shoulders. Number 5, Bryce Thornton. Number 4, Jaden Robinson. Number 3, Aaron Childs. Number 2, Jaden Woods. And number 1, Miles Graham.
yep. So a little suspenseful holding there for number 1. But
Well, you know,
uh, so very interesting, right? So definitely some differences as mentioned at the bottom here, and we'll get into that in a minute. But the interesting thing that we found when we went through here was that 4 through 1 were literally identical. Um, so that was really interesting to see. And then also 5, 6, and 7, and again we'll talk to this here in a second. But 5, 6, and 7 were the same 3 players, just in a different order. So really 7 through 1 on our list are the same. Not exactly the same order, but they're the same, right? You had to get to 8 before you really started seeing a difference of significance, right? There, I had a player you didn't have, and at 9 you had a player I didn't have, and so on and so forth. So that's where we really got into some significant differences. But it really, the top 7 were basically aligned on here. A lot of alignment on the defensive side of the ball. I think it's a pretty interesting consensus that we have here. So
Yeah.
let's start at the bottom. I'll go first. I mentioned Hanks a little more detailed than I probably needed to just list them off, but I'll get into it a little more now. Why do I have Ben Hanks on here um, at number 11? The answer is simple. Ben showed some things at the end of last season. He was able to really kind of show out some of the talent that we know that he has. Clearly, talent is never the issue when it comes to a high level top 100 4-star, right? In terms of the recruiting profile and then also what he's able to display. However, obviously, still young, just coming into his true sophomore season here. And I think what you've seen and what you've heard out of fall camp, which is the important part, I guess I would say, in regards to this, is that he has really come on right in the spring. Really had an impressive spring camp, done very well, had an interception in the first scrimmage, has just really played very well on his side of the ball, developing things of that nature. So because of the projection there, and as I mentioned, might even get to be a starter possibly. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I think it's not beyond the realm of possibility. It certainly could be, and I think there's no question that he's well into two deep, if not. Um, when you look at that for me, and you look at his talent ceiling and everything else that goes along with it, that's why he had to make my top 11. So that's why I got for Hanks. Let's talk about your number 11 and why he's on your list.
So, a couple things. Kanye, and for those of you that the name might not be familiar, well, it probably isn't because he was a transfer. And so I've got him at a couple different things, right? Star, nickel, in that quasi shifting position, but um, redshirt sophomore. Okay, he transferred from UCLA, and the thing that I liked about him that really stuck out on film, and I'm kind of glad we picked him up. Besides the class that he's in, he's got a lot of snaps under his belt. Um, he has a lot of coverage capabilities. Very good at sticking with receivers. The other thing I love about what he does is he that nickel kind of star, whatever we talked about it as well, being able to be more of a hybrid position, right? And one thing that I think that we have lacked a lot of in the past couple of years is a really good star position or having that presence back there when the ball goes deep. As we talked about before in our bend, don't break philosophies, when you look at a lot of the points that we gave up, a lot of the bigger plays we gave up, it was because that presence wasn't there. Yeah, we had some guys that can track a body, but at the end of the day, we didn't have multiple guys that could do it. And I think Kanye, because of his snaps that he got at UCLA, and I get it, it's UCLA, it's out there, the Pac-10, Pac-12, whatever you want to call it. But he has really good abilities, and I think he's got similar abilities physically to Cormani when it comes to tracking a man, understanding where the route goes, and how to follow it. So that's why I've got him in my top 11.
Yep. I also like his physicality. I think that's something else, right? We talked about that Sharif Denson was very good at coverage, and then Aaron Gates was very good at being physical. And you need both at nickel. It's hard, right? You need to be both. You need to be physical enough to
Yes.
make those tackles, play those run blitzes, come in off the corner on a nickel blitz if it's after the quarterback, whatever the case might be. And then you also have to be good in coverage, as you mentioned, right? You have to be able to do both of those things. Corners are not typically good at both. Safeties can be. That's why you typically see a safety play this more often than you do a corner. But then you run into the hole while you're playing a slot receiver, which is usually the fastest guy on the team. Can you keep up? Right. So it's tough. It's a hard position. It's a hard
Yes.
position. And so it really is tricky to get it right and have the right guy there. We've had some good players there over the years, but it hasn't really been there recently. Again, if we could have put those two guys together,
Yeah.
and instead they just both left. But if we could have put them together, they would have been great. But I really saw shortcomings on both sides of things with them. Kind of each of them had half the right game for nickel, but I don't think either one of them really had the full right. And we talked about that. We mentioned that previous pod. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I like it. I don't think it's a bad call. I think I haven't seen enough for him to make my list yet. I think he could be, but just not there yet, but I definitely liked what I saw in the spring game. So
Well, and that was the other thing too. To that end, I didn't. So what I did was, as we mentioned, we don't normally share our notes, but we have to. We had to share our notes
yep.
just to make sure with the points that we were making, how congruent we were, and then see the differences. And as I went by position first, listed all the players at position, then I went back and started finding film. And one of the things that really impressed me about Clark, again, a little bit of film, but the film that I saw was he tracked very well, and that physical aspect and the ability to adapt at a position that requires that adaptation piece. So that's why I had to put him in.
No, 100%. Again, I get it for sure. All right, I'm gonna let you do your 10 first because it's another one that's not on my list. Whereas my 10 we share just at a different rank. So go ahead.
Yeah. So for me, my 10 was Cam Dooley. Right? Here's another one in the safety position. And I'm going to call him more of a strong safety, and that's what he was over at Kentucky, right? So Cam Dooley, a couple things. He comes over from Kentucky, so there's SEC experience there. He comes
Hmm.
over with Brad White. Bam. That, two for two. And the other thing that I saw based off his tape, not just physical, extremely physical. And according to Summerall, uh, played with some violence. Um, I think with him, the main reason why he was able to secure that role there at starting safety, the strong safety, was due to his familiarity with leaning into Brad White's defense and understanding. It's almost like the whole theory of you have one job, go do it very well, and he honed in on that. And the other thing is he has a reputation in Kentucky as a violent striker and extremely elite against stepping up into the box, finding the runner, and attacking immediately. So that's another thing. Again, I know you like the linebacking core, but again, in when you get to that next level, when you get to that safety position, and their ability to adapt, their ability to move, and especially what they need to do to cover the field, uh, Cam, I think, is going to give us a very welcome presence. And again, not saying what we had before was complete garbage, but again, it's the fact that we need that presence there. And I've said this before, as far as having the ability to prepare and understand for different schemes that come our way, just having the right personnel there and allowing them to execute at a very high level. So with Cam coming over with Brad White, I think it does that. But knowing that he has a reputation as a violent elite striker, sign me up for that.
I hear you. I know you're a fan of Truckum. So no, it's good. It's good. I like it. It's a good case. Case well made. I was curious how you're going to make that one to me because I was a little unconvinced on my side for that one, but I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's good. And not unconvinced that he's good for the record. Just wasn't sure that where we were how you were going to get him in the top 11, but I like it.
Well, and
Okay.
that's the other interesting about this exercise, right? When you talk about top 11,
Yeah.
it's almost like we're on the playground and hey, go ahead and
Yeah.
pick your 10, right? Like who do you got?
Yeah.
And so we're just matching up here, team against team,
Right.
mano a mano. And it was really interesting to see how what in your grading process as it came out and my grading process. So either ways,
Yep.
yeah, really good exercise.
Yeah, for sure. That was good. So okay, next for me is Brennan Bett, as mentioned. So he's on your list at 8. He's on mine at 10.
Yep.
Not a ton of difference here, and I think we both kind of saw the same things, and so we can, both talk about it here. We don't have to wait for you to get to 8 there.
Yeah.
But obviously with Bett, he's improved a lot. I think when he first came in as a transfer from Baylor last year, we kind of had some question marks. Wasn't 100% sure if he was going to be, any kind of great fit or anything. But again, a guy where we've seen progress, we've seen progression throughout last season. And I think again, the stories are in the off season and some of the stuff that he's done seems like likely starter from everything that I'm hearing anyway. That he's probably going to get the start at one of those interior defensive line positions. Alongside who is a little questionable still. But but for Bet's position, it looks like it's going to be him. And so to that end, and when you then also hear some of the feedback that we've heard in the spring about just the D line as a whole, right, and how kind of unexpectedly well they've done, right? They've kind of been the surprise, right, of camp, spring camp anyway. That they really performed well. I think for me, he had to be included, right? When you look at the way that he's improved and gotten better. So, your thoughts on Brennan?
Here's a kid, and this might sound dramatic, but I mean this, whose career could have been derailed because of one very poor action.
Yeah.
And the one thing I will give that coaching staff credit for was anytime a kid made a mistake, that kid had to suffer the consequences of it. Be in the media, answer questions respectfully. The coaching staff, Napier, made him call the other player,
Hmm.
contact the other player, personally apologize, then had some community service tacked on to that. And as a result, he didn't go back in his shell. He assumed a leadership role. His voice got
Hmm.
louder. He took on the task. And so I think that really defined Brendan Bett as far as being able to rise above. And not to mention a three technique defensive tackle. I love his ability because of his size and physicality to do a lot of different things. Although I'm with you as far as on the interior side. Um, I just like his physicality. I like the different things about him. And so um, yeah, clearly why he made both of our top 11. So awesome there.
Yep. Yep. For sure. Okay, so 9 on my list is Mbachu. Did not make yours, which did kind of surprise me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Uh, but fair enough. And so the reason he's on mine, kind of similar reasons to what we're talking about here. Saw some promise last year, obviously as a freshman though. And again, the talk of spring before he got a little stinger that kept him out a little bit, but he was just blowing up camp. Absolutely, the story really of the early part of spring camp, especially on the defensive line side of things, but really almost in a lot of ways in general on the defensive side. Really explosive, really showing some different stuff. And this was kind of in his recruiting profile, right? The reason he was so wanted, even though he was marked as a 3-star initially, though he did move up to a very high end 3-star. I think by the time it was all said and done, was just this raw talent and ability at his size, right? So, and this is huge for us too, because obviously we lost Burrow, who's a solid player and had a lot of talent there, and have to have some kind of replacement there. So whether it ends up being Imbachu, which I think it will, or it's McLeod coming in, who could also do well, though he's not on our list here, but I definitely think he's got promise there as well. But somebody's got to come in and backfill that spot there to really anchor down that line because Bett's not quite big enough for that, right? He's big, but he's not quite big enough for that, really 300 plus pound spot. And I think that's where Mbachu fills that need. And I hope he fills it very well. Again, I'm relying, you hear me keep talking about camp intel. I am relying on that a lot,
Yeah.
but we got some pretty solid intel from that this offseason. And I am trusting the coaching staff in terms of the guys that are improving and developing. And that's not to say I think they're all going to be all SEC or anything, but I just think that it helps me evaluate, okay, these are the guys that are standing out and playing better and doing more. And I do think one thing that we've learned about this staff is they at least seem to be very transparent by all indications. So I'm trusting that that transparency relates to this as well for now. We'll see if it burns me. It has before. So we'll
Right there
find
with
out.
you, buddy.
But for now, I'm going to trust it because, again, they've just been so transparent about everything that I just feel like I'm going to say, okay, I'll take your word for it for now. We'll find out. We'll find out. But hopefully that's correct. So anyway, that's why Mbachu's there. So 9 on your list was, I don't recall now. Sorry.
James.
James. Yes. Cam James. Yes. Somebody who did not make mine, which is, I'll tell you why when you get done, but go ahead.
Got you. So, couple things on Cam. Uh, Senior, true senior. But the other thing that when I looked up the snap count based off the years of service, little over 715 snaps.
Hmm.
Yeah, I saw 718, whatever, over 700 snaps on the edge. Um, in my belief, stepping into a very definitive role there, heavy-handed, point of attack to anchor that strong side of the defensive line. And so for me, Cam, he's had glimpses in the past. He can be, he can. Here's the thing that Cam was lacking, in my opinion, before was the consistency every single play, right? And I feel like he got gassed a lot. And so for me, when I look at the conditioning and everything like that, going through the gauntlet drills this past spring, Cam came up as far as what I read, being his stamina's improved, right? So techniques improved, things like that. So that's why I've got him at my number 9 spot. I'm curious why you and for that reason why because Mbachu for me was like number 13 or 14, right? So I put Cam a little bit ahead because of the experience factor, snap factor. So why did you have Cam out? I'm curious on that.
So the reason I had Cam out is because I had LJN at 8, right? Which we talk about your 8 being bet, right? So
Yeah.
I have LJN. I don't have Cam in, and I'll explain why. So everything you said is very valid points. It's very good. He's got a ton of experience. Which, by the way, quick note on experience. We returned the most returning production on defense. Now this is counting transfer production as well. So that wasn't with us, but like returning overall production, so snaps and things of that nature.
Okay.
Um, this is via our lands is the source on this, by the way, but we are returning more starting production on defense than any team in the country, not the SEC, the country. So we are number one for returning defensive production. It's like
A lot of
77
upperclassmen. Okay.
the production from last year in terms of obviously it wasn't all with Florida, but like
Sure.
77% of it comes back over the way they're evaluating it. They have to do it that way now at the portal. There's just too much that, your numbers would be so low with everybody if you didn't, right, include the
Yeah.
portal and like transfer
That's
it
a lot
over.
of
So,
snaps.
yeah, correct, exactly. So anyway, just a fun little stat there. We are
Nice.
number one in that. So yeah, it's pretty cool actually. So Cam is not on my list, and he would be right there. He would be like you were saying with Mbachu, right? Like just outside that range. But the reason he's not on mine is strictly because I don't think he's produced enough for me in those 700 plus snaps to make it to where I think he's one of the most 11 talented. That's the simplest way I know how to say it. He just
Fair.
hasn't done enough for me in all of that time, right? Coming into his senior season, as you mentioned, right? Um, to really show me that he is all the way up there. Again, top 15, absolutely. Absolutely. Top 13, maybe. I'd have to think about it. I didn't rank it out that far, but
Yeah.
he's right there on the cusp for sure. But he's just not quite high enough. And the guy I do have at 8, moving up to 8 now because we already did your 8, LJ McCray, I think does have that talent. I think, and it's, again, going back to spring, reshaped his body, put in new effort, and definitely things we saw in the spring game from him. He looked like a different guy from what we did see, small sample size last year because of the injury.
Yeah.
I think everybody's kind of going to sleep on LJ because he didn't play a ton as a freshman. I don't think he was fully developed, probably because our training program wasn't good enough. Um,
Yeah.
which hopefully that's solved now. I got to believe that it is. By the way, Cormani power cleaning 285 on Rusty Witt's Instagram feed today. Or I don't know if it actually came out today, but yeah, power cleaning 285. That's pretty good for a corner. As
Yeah.
you mentioned, boulders for shoulders. But anyway, so uh, going back to LJ, I think everybody's sleeping on him a little. If you look again, his size, his 6'6", 265, 270, whatever it is, he is prototypical round one edge rusher NFL material just from his metrics, right? Wingspan, all that stuff, hand size. I mean, he's got everything you need. And I think again, freshman, he was a little underdeveloped physically, weight room wise, not any other physicals, but
Yeah.
just those. Last year he gets hurt, and this year he goes to work and really puts in some effort on that. And again, I saw evidence of that on the field on the spring game, and I think we're going to see more of it. And that's why he's higher on my list. He's too good of a prospect, and honestly, somebody that I'm super excited we held on to. Somebody I feel like we absolutely could have lost, but I think because he kind of snuck under the radar with that injury last year, maybe there wasn't as much of a demand for him in the portal. And I'm telling you, he might show out. That is my take there. I think he's going to potentially be, if not a starter, definitely in the rotation there. It's going to be hard to start because it's going to be, I think, between him and Cam James for that spot because they're on the other side of course, one Mr. JD Woods, which
Yeah.
we'll talk about in a minute. All right, so we got through 8. This is where we align now. 7 and up. So let's talk about 5, 6, and 7 here
Yeah.
as a group because they're the same players for each of us, just in a different order. So
Yeah. Exactly.
I have Dijon at 5, Bryce at 6, Cormani at 7. You have Cormani, or I'm sorry, you have Bryce at 5, Cormani at 6, and Dijon at 7. So again, just kind of a reorder there of stuff. We just have it in a little different order. We don't have to get too into the weeds about why the order is different, I don't think, but just talk to me about your reasons for these three secondary guys and why they're in these spots respectively. And again, it doesn't really matter the rank.
Yeah, I think for me, Bryce, senior, um, you know, he was inconsistent at times, and there were times that we needed him to make a big play, and he did. And so for me, the other thing that Bryce, I think with him, my belief, seeing the film and everything else, I felt like for him it was a confidence thing. It was a here thing.
Hmm.
I believe he is going to succeed in the Brad White defense, in that system, in that scheme. I also believe from a total field coverage standpoint, he has covered a lot more in the field than we've seen in a while. We've had to ask him to do a lot of things over the past couple of years. And so when you look at this scheme and what he's being asked to do in Brad White's defense, he has a more solidified role. He has a more specific role. And with that, he's going to take a lot of the things that he did over the past couple of years. He's got a lot of scar tissue. And with that, it has bolstered his physicality. It has bolstered everything that he needs to do mentally. And so that's why I've got him slightly ahead of Cormani and Dijon.
All right, fair enough. No, I like the rationale there for sure, and I definitely think you have a case for it. I have him at 6, right? No, yeah,
6 or
I have him.
7.
Yes, I got him at 6. You got him at 5. I think the biggest difference here, and the one that I'll focus on talking about, because I definitely see that the biggest difference is I've got Dijon at 5. You got him at 7. So that's the biggest difference in these ranks.
Discrepancy.
The
Yeah.
ones are just one apart. Um, the reason I have Dijon at 5 is I go back to Dijon when he was last healthy, the beginning of last season and the end of the prior season before he got hurt again then, which I hope he doesn't continue to get hurt. I think, again, conditioning program hopefully helps with these injuries that we've suffered. I
Mhm.
really hope that makes an impact there as well. But Dijon showed me that he's got some real, like, legitimate cover skills. Now, he may not quite have the top end speed of Devin Moore, for example, um, who could just fly. I know he didn't get the combine because he was still a little hurt, but that's neither here nor there. I think Dijon could be, you remember Dijon was like a top 100 recruit. Like, he was right around 100. He was committed to Ohio State, flipped to us, right? Like, kid's got
Good
a
point.
pedigree from like a recruiting standpoint. And if you look at it, I've seen stuff on film with him when we go back and we actually watch the tape with him. You mentioned watching some of the others that uh, there's a real legitimacy to his game in terms of being a well-rounded, well-balanced playing corner, and that's why I have him where I have him. Because to me, if you look at what video evidence we have for all of these guys,
Mhm.
when he was on the field, which granted, that's there's been some holes there, but I don't think that's all his fault. And we'll find
Yeah.
out. We'll see if he can stay healthy this year. I think what I've seen when he was on the field, he has produced the most consistent play of these three. That's why I have him at 5.
Consistency. I got you.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yep. And obviously high level. But at any rate, there you go. But yeah, as far as like explosiveness and things that they're capable of, I've definitely seen that in Thornton and certainly Cormani. We know that we might be wrong on this list, and Cormani might go way up it. I don't know. His rating in NCAA, by
Yeah.
the way, I got some beef with some of those ratings in 27, by the way, but his rating is 82. Cormani
They've
was
got
like,
to update that.
get
It's
out
got
of
to
town.
be.
Like, I mean, and honestly, there's a lot of guys, not even Gators, that are underrated in that game. Like, there's a lot of players that are underrated. But anyway, I'm not going to digress into that right now. We ain't got that
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
time. All right. So now our top 4 all being aligned: Jaden Robinson, Aaron Childs, Jaden Woods, Miles Graham, 3 linebackers and a lead edge rusher here at the top. Give me your overall thoughts on the top 4. I'm grouping these together because, one, the interest of time, but two, obviously we're all the same. Why do you have these 4 at the top? Where are you at with it? What was the thought process? And yeah, let's talk about
Jaden Robinson is a problem.
it.
Aaron Childs is just as equally a problem.
Yeah,
Jaden Woods, when he plays his game, cannot be contained. And Miles Graham, for the age, is one of the smartest players that we have on the defensive side of the
yeah,
football. Hence why he got the quarterback position
yeah.
of the defense. Plays come in through him. These 4 guys arguably, yeah, we've got some could say we have a quasi first world problem at wide receiver or running back. These four guys, I believe, are going to be extremely fun to watch this fall. I believe they're going to show out. They're going to deliver. I think Brad White is over there um, with Gerald just kind of like licking their chops, going, "Oh, how do we use these guys?" Um,
Yeah.
they are going to anchor for the better part, this defensive unit and up front in this line, and really make the trenches hell for some teams. And I just outside of the orange and blue goggles coming in, can't say enough about them mentally, physically, and then from a conduct standpoint and how they conduct themselves on the field, off the
Yep.
field. It's just a very complete package, right? A very ideal situation there.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that's well said. Agree with everything you said. Points I'll add that are they're quick and pretty short here
Yeah,
actually is when you look at White and Summerall both, right? And what they could potentially do with all these guys. But I'll focus on the linebackers first. Former linebacker coaches, both of them, right? Former linebacker Summerall. I don't remember if White played linebacker. I don't remember what he played as a player off the top of my head. But regardless,
yeah,
guys that love this position from the back in the day time frame, right? Going back to, old school type play of these guys. Now, obviously, they do not operate with those concepts. They run much more, kind of new school system.
yeah.
But they got a little of that still in 'em, right? They both have that physical, gonna come hit you mentality that I feel like always resides with linebackers and safeties in really good defenses, right? That's where it comes from. Those are the guys that are gonna go get that pad pop, is gonna be the linebacker and the
Set
safety,
the
right?
tone.
And when you look at the ability of these guys, whether it's Robinson, who constantly overperforms his physical traits, right? He's like 6 foot tall and like, I don't know, 230. He's not your prototypical linebacker. Then you got Childs on the other end of that scope, who is a mutant. I mean, what, he's 6'3", 245 or something. Like, he is massive out there, absolutely massive
Don't
to be
test his blood.
linebacker. Almost put him on the line, and we may use him as a rusher at time to time. And then, of course, Graham is like your prototypical, like perfect size for the position, modern position anyway, and does so many things so well. Talk about him in coverage, all of those things. I don't have to go into all of it, but like you look at that, and all three of these guys just bring great skill sets, great ability to the table. And I am excited to see, to your point, how they get used from this mentality of physicality, but also this mindset of strategy that we have kind of combining right now. That's going to be really interesting to see. And to your point, I think could be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
To close it all out, Jaden Woods, because I didn't really talk about it in that segment because I was talking linebacker. I You said it, man. I don't really know how you stop him. Troutline was quoted as saying already, and I think I mentioned in the previous pod, yeah, we haven't figured out how to stop him yet.
unstoppable. Right.
Yeah, I mean, we can't figure out how to slow him down yet. So, I mean, when you hear stuff like that, I mean, from Troutline, who clearly knows the position, knows how to coach it, knows how to play it, you- yeah, okay, he's good, right? And we knew that already, of course, in things that he showed. But yeah, it's gonna be a good time to see that come back and what that looks like. So, all right. Quick takeaways from the defensive side of things, just to kind of summarize this list. We both have three linebackers in our top four, as we just mentioned, which is interesting, though, because it shows you that's a real strong position if
Right.
three are in the top four for both of us. We both have two edge rushers on our list, so that means there's strength there as well. And we both have at least four. You have five, but I have four. So we both have at least four corners and safeties making the top 11. So it's interesting because we have talked about the secondary potentially being questionable, right? We're a little unsure in it. We'll obviously break all that down when we get to season preview and all that stuff, position group by position group. But it's interesting because we kind of hinted at, if there's a weak link here on defense, we don't think it's the D line, we don't think it's the linebackers, it's probably somewhere in the secondary, right? Now, we probably lean more into safety on that, but you got two safeties on your list, and I got one safety on mine, and
Yeah.
so granted, one of those is the same player, but still, nonetheless, the point being is maybe it's not that weak after all. I'm just saying. I'm not, again, no orange and blue goggles on that one, but just it's interesting because when you look at what we put together here and what we thought of and what we ranked and how we put it down, that's not nothing, right? There's not nothing there and shouldn't just be ignored. So just an interesting thought there, an interesting takeaway, right? So
Yes.
and actually, yeah, no, that's right. Sorry, I was thinking my count was off, but it's right. So there you go. So there's your takeaways on the defensive side. Let's switch over to offense here.
Yeah.
Get started. So I'll let you. I went first on defense. I'll let you go on offense. Read me off your top 11 on offense.
All right. Here we go. At number 11, Aaron Philo. At number 10, Najee Harris. At number 9, Luke Harper. At number 8, Micah Mays. Number 7, Ian Boyer. Number 6, Duke Clark. Number 5, Harrison Moore. Number 4, Dallas Wilson. Number 3, Eric Singleton Jr. Number 2, VB3. And number 1, I know I joked with you before. I said Marco Rubio. No disrespect, Marco.
Yeah.
Jaden Ball. There you go.
Yep. No, good stuff. All right. So mine, just to run it down first, and then we'll get into it. Number 11 is Harrison Moore for me. Number 10, I have Trammell, and number 9, Philo. And we did discuss that if we had gone to 12, you would have had Trammell, right? There.
Mm-hmm.
So we agreed that they're neck and neck, right? So I've got Trammell and Philo here at 10 and 9. Number 8, Duke Clark. Number 7, Micah Mays. Number 6, Evan Pryor. Number 5, Najee Harris. Number 4, VD3. Number 3, Dallas Wilson. Number 2, Eric Singleton. Number 1, Marco Rubio. No, Jaden Ball. Again, no disrespect, but so yeah, interesting. So still a lot of alignment in this. Just looking at it holistically, a lot of the same guys on the same list here. I think we had 3. I think we said, or maybe it's only 2 that were not on each other's lists. But the order did not stay as exactly the same, right? Again, but it was so close, and we'll talk about that as we go through when we get up higher. What was interesting was some of the positioning of some of the offensive linemen. So we'll start on that with 11. I'll get started with mine. I have Harrison Moore at 11. The only reason, honestly, that he's not higher is I haven't seen him do it in the SEC. That's it. He was great at Georgia Tech. He was a finalist for a couple different awards, right? It looked really good. Excellent protection and also, played well, of course, in Faulkner's scheme. Offensively, I think did a lot of really, really good things. Show me you can do it in the SEC and Mount Hall, right? You're higher on this list for sure for me. But right now, because I haven't seen that, I had to put him a little lower. And that's the only reason he's at 11. So that's just my rationale. Obviously, I know you got him higher. We'll get there when we get there for you on that, and I'll let you give your reasons then, of course. But 11, you had Philo, right?
Philo.
Yeah, go.
So a couple of things with Aaron. Obviously, transfer from Tech. We have familiarity with Faulkner's offense. The other thing, dual threat capabilities. He's probably not the fastest, but at the end of the day, he's more than capable. And here's the other thing too, with this quarterback position that we need, we don't need someone to go out there and sling it for 587 yards a game and 4 touchdowns. Would be nice. That's not what we need. We
Not opposed to it.
I know we need serviceable. We need a little bit above serviceable. We need someone who can command the offense. We need that general, that field general. Aaron's going to be able to do that. The other thing, and we were talking about this earlier, that I think is interesting about Aaron is when you look at Georgia high school football, we know about Deshaun Watson. We know about Trevor Lawrence, Gunnar Stockton, Jake State-From. Guess what? Out of all those talents that came out of Georgia in high school, Aaron Philo leads all of them in passing yards. holy cow, didn't see that one coming. So the kid's got talent, he's got abilities. I He is listed as a dual threat. I would like to see a little bit more physicality on the dual. I like to see a little bit more speed on the dual threat. But outside of that, he's got to crack the top 11 for me because more than likely he has the edge coming out of spring camp. He will have the edge going into fall, and he will more than likely be our starter. So, having that been said, that's why he cracks my top 11.
Yep. And I know there's probably some people, if you're not already in on that loop, in terms of him being the starter, that may be less than thrown to you for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that it comes back to right now, everything that we're hearing, all the feedback is just consistency, consistency, consistency. Trammell clearly has talent. That's why he's number 10 on my list here. Again, would have been 12 on Randy's. He's clearly a talented kid. His ability to absorb and pick up offenses quickly is remarkable. Um, I hope he makes the NFL because he's going to do really well there, I think. In terms of like being able to at least, and nothing else, be a backup, but like certainly just do well and have a good career. Because if you can learn those offenses as a quarterback in the NFL, you can stay around a long time. Like
Oh, yeah.
you can really do well with it. And clearly to me, Trammell has to be really good at that because I mean, he picked up Billy's in a matter of months. Not that that's that complicated, but nonetheless, he did learn it quickly. And then he and then he picked up Faulkner's, which is obviously a lot more complex and a lot more going on. He's been able to at least pick it up to be able to be certainly somewhat competent with it from what we saw in the spring game. Um, in a matter of time. Now, again, if you just saw the spring game and that's all you saw and you don't have any of the other behind the scenes on this, I totally understand why you think Trammell's the person. Totally get it. It's logical, it's rational, but there's a lot more going on. That's one practice out of many in the spring, many OTAs, many in the fall, right? And again, what it comes back to is there's a consistency factor with Trammell that apparently, from what we're hearing, we can't see it, but from what we're being given as intel, is it's just not always there. Certainly, again, talent present, consistency not always. So that's why he's 10 on my list, and Philo is 9. I thought your explanation on Philo was great. I really don't have a lot to add other than I hope that he can keep that consistency up and be a good decision maker. Got a little
Yes.
gunslinger in him. And this isn't about the picks in the spring game. This is more just about what I've seen on film and tape from his previous seasons. Not that he had a ton of picks there, but just some of the decision making, right? There's just a few things that are just a little like, maybe you didn't need to make that throw. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's those two things are keep the consistency up and let's make the smart choices, right? Let's make sure that we're doing that. And hopefully that's something that he can continue to work on and learn and get better as we go forward. Because if that's the case, I think he's pretty solid. And to your point, we don't have to have, Sexy Rexy back there slinging that thing for 400 a game. We just don't. We just don't. This offense is not required to have that happen. I think we have a lot of other options and a lot of other weapons that we'll talk about now. So,
Yeah.
number 9 on your list, Luke Harper, right? Go.
And well, that's the other thing too, is it's like, I remember your first reaction. It's like, huh? Um,
It
and
did
so,
surprise me a little, but I will say, quick side note on it before you get
yeah.
into it. The more I'm hearing, and I just got some more on that recently, I am getting more and more positive stuff coming out about Luke. So I'm getting it more and more.
So Luke's a transfer. The other thing is, I think we have a good idea of how tight ends were used in Billy's scheme or lack thereof in our previous seasons.
Yours?
Yeah, yeah. So, a couple of things I will come back to with Luke. Praised by the coaching staff, well-rounded tight end, extremely well-rounded tight end, coming out of spring camp. Provides an essential utility as both a inline blocker and as a pass catcher. Probably has better hands than for catching than he does blocking. However, anything they have asked him to do, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So conduct on the line, his ability to adapt between blocking and catching. And the other thing is, yeah, of course, with the transfer picking up Buster's offense, that's not an issue. But the other thing that I think people are going to be surprised about with Luke, going back to the blocking concept, is his physicality. He's surprisingly physical for his size. So I think that's why, a couple of the reasons why he made my top 11, blocking, hands, physicality. all the things that you need in a very good tight end. More again, it would be nice to have another Kyle Pitts. We don't have a Kyle Pitts,
Yeah.
but compared to the tight end production we had years ago, I think he's going to be a more than welcomed addition who can block, turn, pivot, run out, go into the flat, and catch a 5 to 7 yard pass, maybe on a crucial third down, and get the line to gain.
Yep. Absolutely. And something that is going to be more used, whether it's him, whether it is Amir Jackson, getting involved to some degree as well. Definitely a position group that you're going to see used at least more effectively. Maybe not more often necessarily. We'll have to wait and see on that, but certainly more effectively than what we've seen previously. Just kind of random out of nowhere. Oh, they got 7 catches this game and none the next. So it's always been so all over the place. But anyway,
Yeah.
all right. No, I get it, and then again, I'm getting it more, and it did get me at first. I was pretty floored, but now I'm coming along a little bit more with that. So, all right, number 8 on my list is number 6 on yours, and that is Duke Clark. And the only reason that Duke is this low for me, and not that this is low, but the only reason he's a little further down is because of who I have at 6, which is your other back. But I have Duke at 8. I think Duke definitely showed me some stuff last year. Again, this is just about production for me. Not quite having it yet. Liked what I saw in the spring game from him, but I also liked what I saw from Pryor, who is at 6, right? So there was nothing that stood out to me overall in what I've seen in past, from Duke or what I saw in the spring that said to me, okay, he's got to be higher here than Pryor. And for me, I won't get into Pryor right now. I'll leave that alone right now. But just going back to Duke, I think he's definitely got a lot of upside. He has more speed than I realized. Did run a 10.7700. Just saw that documented in an article the other day. Can't cite the article, apologies, but I just saw it. But 10.7700, which I did not know, and that's pretty good for running back, right? That's pretty quick.
Mhm.
So it definitely has a little better speed than I realized for that, as far as at least top end, right? So yeah, definitely like Duke here. I like his he's got some decent hands, certainly some good vision, right? All those nice things that you want to see from what we've seen on film from him. Just not enough production yet for me to be up higher than this, but certainly I don't think anything wrong with being at 8. So
Yeah,
that's why I got him here. Your 8 is Micah, correct?
it is.
All right, fire away. I've got him at 7, so I'll let you make the points for me, and then I'll just agree with you. Sound good? All right, go.
Micah Mays, a really good transfer. So glad we picked him up. You can tell he got to work immediately. And so for me, one of the things about him was, and I don't know about you, B, but I did not expect that performance from him out of the spring game at all.
I was
And
about to say
so,
something somewhat similar, actually, that if it weren't for the spring game, you wouldn't be on this list.
okay, right. And so for me, in looking at the lineup, and again, I think we have, quasi first world problem there at wide receiver. But for me, I think the reason why he cracked that and into 8 was he was a little bit more, I'm not saying that he wasn't competent, more physical and faster than I thought he was.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so even though the defense was familiar, he got really good separation. And not to mention, when he put his foot in the ground, he would turn and burn. And
Yep.
so for those physical traits alone, coupled with a couple of other things that we've seen on film and that we've heard based off the transfer report, that's why I had to put him up there at number 8.
Yeah. No, I think all really good points. And yeah, I think, again, it's always questionable when you get somebody out of another conference, right? Are they going to be able to, if you can make it here, you make it anywhere, right? It's New York as the SEC, right? But
Mm-hmm.
um, but I think you're never sure, right? You're never sure. You never know for sure. How is that going to translate? Is it going to translate? Is it going to work out? And even though he had good production at Wake, like, was it going to be a fit? Was he even going to see the field with the receivers that we have here, right? So there was just so many unknowns there. But to your point, just seeing that spring game, that changed a lot, right, in terms of what he was able to show and do and everything else. So anyway, no need to belabor that point. We'll move on. That's my 7. That he was yours. Your 7 is the one that you are going to have to sell me on. Egan Boyer at 7. Make it make sense for me, man, because I'm not with you here.
Fair. Here's the main reason why.
Okay.
This offensive line has a tall task this fall.
Yes, they do.
They have a lot to prove. Having that been said, Egan Boyer is 6'8.5".
Yeah.
Small task. Secondly, coming from Penn State, Phil Troutwine from Penn State. In my belief, Egan Boyer is plug and play. I think he's going to solidify the right guard position. And the other thing is, knowing that he came from Penn State, knowing that Phil is in his ear, that right
Tackle.
thank you. That
I knew
tackle,
what you were going for. It's all good.
yep, that's going to be extremely crucial in what he needs to do to protect. So tackle is going to be blindside, right? So, when you look at quarterback's blindside, tough job. But at the height that he's at and the things that he's been able to possess, that is the reason why I have him in my top 11. I have him at 7 because that requires a lot of athleticism. It requires a lot of discipline, and you have to be athletically inclined and not to mention intelligent to be able to cover that blind side and do a lot of different things on that line to really shift and protect the quarterback. And so that's the main reason why I put him up there.
All right.
Height
So
alone, Troutwayne associated alone.
yeah, so current intel says Harrison Moore at center, Najee Harris at left guard, Shanahan, I believe, at right guard is the current projection. Uh, I'm from what I'm hearing, Mecca Ogorji at left tackle,
Left
which is
tackle, yeah.
kind of shocking to me, but not. But I hope so because
Right.
that means you can play and get can play. And then right tackle is up for grabs right now. From it is the intel. It could be Egan. It could be Camden.
Aiden or yeah.
Hey, I always call him Camden. I don't know why I do that. It is Katie. You're right. So
Jones, yeah.
yeah, Jones. Let's go with Jones. It's easier. I won't mess it up. But
CK? No.
yeah. So for your money, what you're saying is you think he can start.
Yeah, so when I look at the position, when I look at that left tackle, 1, 2, 2, whatever, I yeah, because of the height and because of everything else that Troutwayne's going to really get backs out of him. The thing I worry about him is at 6'8.5". I hope he stays healthy because that is a big body to fill at that tackle position.
All right, I'll buy it. I'm looking to see if I can get the stats real quick. Caden Jones is 6'8", 333. So he doesn't have the height on
Right.
Caden. Just curious. So they're both big. So they're both gunning it out with the height there. They're both fellas. But that's good. They need to be tall at tackle. So there you go. All right.
Yes.
We'll see what happens there. I mean, I wasn't overwhelmed by Caden's play at was he heck right? Yeah, because Bart was at left. So I wasn't overwhelmed by his play there. He was better than Bryce at tackle. I think Bryce is better suited guard as we've discussed. But yeah, so I mean I hope you're right because I hope that means that he won the job and he's better.
Yes.
That's what
Well,
I'll say.
and that's the other thing. Correct.
So all right, moving on. Number 6. So 6 on my list, I will start with because he's not on yours. And this was a little surprising to me that he did not make your list, was
Yeah.
Evan Pratt. Pryor's here. I already mentioned it. The reason he's higher up than Duke is because of experience, right? He's got over 1,000 career yards. Granted, basically with Cincinnati, not much of it came with Ohio State. But he has, played a little with Ohio State, mostly with Cincinnati. Proven production. He's got great speed. Showed some of that in the spring game. I like his vision a lot. I know we say that a lot about running backs, but what I mean when I say that is I like the fact that when he finds the gap that he's going for, whatever that may be, that he's immediately accelerating through it, right? He's finding that hole and immediately going through it based on what I saw. Limited time in terms of that from what we saw with Florida, but obviously in some of the past years as well, we've seen that also. I like him as a change of pace back with ball. And that might have as much to do with this as anything. I do think that I mentioned that Clark was faster than I realized. I still think Pryor's faster based on what I saw on the field. His field speed seems to be faster from what I saw. And I like having a 1-2 punch where you've got, the thunder and lightning thing from back in the day with USC, right? When you've got that power versus that speed factor, I really think that is an effective 1-2 punch. I know Jaden's going to be the one and the two to an extent, right? So this will be like a 2B, but nonetheless, it's just interesting. And I really like him as a compliment. I don't know that he's going to get the number 2. It might be Duke. There's a lot of back and forth on that. It's not at all decided, but we'll see what happens. And that's why I got Pryor at 6. So who did you have at 6? I don't recall. Sorry. I thought I wrote it down, but I missed this one.
Mine was Duke.
Oh, Duke is your 6. Right. I'm sorry. There you go. Yeah.
No, you're
so,
good. Well, and that was the thing for me. Pryor, I get the transfer, the fact that he's a senior, he's got a lot of scar tissue. But I think for me, I don't know how much he has left in the tank, and I did not see the speed that you saw or that ability. I mean, I saw it at Cincinnati. I saw it on the film at Cincinnati. But since then I hadn't seen it. So based off of that, when looking at everything else, the other edge I give to Duke is the fact that he's been behind Jaden now for 2 years. So he has seen how Jaden goes about his business, the professionalism, the practice ability, the work ethic, the studying that comes with that. And I think Duke could not have a better upperclassman role model to model that after. And especially seeing Duke get on the field and seeing him sometimes go gloveless, right, and get tape on the knuckles, as Jaden has done from time to time. So I like that aspect of it.
All right, no, I like it. Those are great points. I like that. I don't know. I don't know if I agree about the Pryor with not having enough left in the tank. We'll find out. I hope that's not true, but I guess we'll see. But I like your points about Duke for sure, for sure. All right, cool. Moving on. Number 5. So this is where I have Najee. We skip over your 10. I don't think we let you talk about Najee. That might have been a mistake on my part. I apologize.
No, you're fine. And that's a great segue because he's my 10.
Because you have Harrison, right? You have Harrison at 5, right?
Yep.
All right, so we can talk about Najee, and then obviously you can talk about Harrison that I did at 11, and why you have him up higher. So I've got Najee up here because of his experience, the way I've seen him play at this position. I think very well. He's surprisingly mobile for a guard, right? He pulls really well. He does a lot of nice things that we've seen on film from him, right? I think should be a very good fit to this offense because while this offense has a lot of like power running concepts in it, it also has a lot of like split zone and outside zone and things of that nature in it as well, where you have to be mobile, right? You have to be able to move. So without getting into the specifics of what those differences are from a blocking standpoint, when you're zone blocking, you have to be able to move. When you're gap blocking, you just push, right? Is the general rule. So when you're zone blocking like that, you have to be able to go to your spot in the zone and move around to get the defender that's there. So I really like Najee's ability to do this. Again, I think he's been a solid performer, consistent, probably the best recruit that we've had from the Napier era on the O-line. Maybe probably is not the right word. Definitely. But other than, of course, Torres, but that was a transfer, so that's not really a recruit. But ultimately, that's what I've seen on Najee, and I've always really liked it. So that's why he's up there at 5 for me. So why did you have him at 10, and then talk to me about why Harrison's at 5 for you?
Fair. So Najee, he had to crack the 11 for me because he is arguably the veteran leader, right, of this offensive line room, regardless. Bringing back, don't quote me on this, 26, 27 career starts at left guard. So I think he steadies the left guard position for sure. Harrison Moore coming in for me, I look at Harrison Moore as more of a Jake Slaughter type figure, how he fits into this offense, what he means as a center. And yes, I'm valuing center more over left guard, even though Najee's got the starts, he's got the scar tissue, he's got the snaps. I think the main thing out of Harrison is going to be because of what Buster wants to run, the tempo and the speed of it, Harrison's job is going to be crucial to make sure that he anchors that offensive line, right? To be able to do it in such a way. And Harrison, I agree with what you said, everything as far as mobility. I believe you said for zone blocking, right? You got to move to get to that spot, right? To seal that off for gap, you're just pushing. Agreed. So for me, I think Harrison, from what I've seen on the film on Harrison, has a little bit more of that ability than Najee. But in addition to that, I think Harrison is going to be extremely crucial the way Jake Slaughter was to anchor the offensive line and really set the tone for the tempo that Buster wants to run and get players in the right position.
Yeah. Now, one critical thing, by the way, 26 starts is correct.
26, thank you.
Yep. Uh, and one critical thing that I didn't mention about Harrison, that, and this isn't really so much a talent thing, uh, having knowledge of this offense,
Yes.
even though everybody keeps saying that for the record. I do think it's important to note that this is not going to be the same offense that it was at Georgia Tech. That is really important. The concepts will obviously be there, but we are going to run different stuff. Like, it's not going to look the same as Haynes King back there running court. It's just not, right? So I do think that's important. But having said that, there are concepts within it that are going to be the same. And that means there are protection packages in it that are going to be the same.
There you go.
Who is in charge of calling out the protection packages, the protection changes that they see based on stuff? It is the center. Always, 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 it is the center. Super important to have a guy transferring in that understands those packages, those sets, right? Things that are going on. That could end up being invaluable, honestly. But that is not necessarily to do with talent. That's just knowledge and experience of the system, right? So, all right.
No, but perfect point. Well said.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. All right. 4 through 1. Actually, let's do 4 through 2 first here and look at these receivers that we have up here. So we have the same three, different order. I have VB3, Wilson, Singleton. You have Wilson, Singleton, VB3. What was your
Wilson, Singleton, VB3.
So obviously we're aligned that these guys are top 4 playmakers, clearly. Yeah. The only reason I have a different order, and I think you have what I would consider to be the expected order of these guys, I would say based on experience, talent profile, right? What they were able to do last year or not do in case of Wilson because he was hurt, right? I think your list makes sense. And obviously Singleton has not shown it in the SEC yet. He's really only shown in the ACC, but that's not his fault because it was Auburn and yeah. So ultimately, I think what we're looking at here is the reason I have VB3 at 4 has little to do with VB3 and a lot more to do with Dallas Wilson and Eric Singleton. I think VB3 is phenomenal. I don't think on many lists, if I was ranking him against 2 other receivers, that he would be below maybe either of them. But the reason I have him below in this particular case is simply because what I saw Dallas be capable of when he was healthy.
The Texas game?
Yeah, man. Whoa. I mean, physical freak, right? And then Singleton is number 2 here because of proven production and what I saw in the spring game from route running. Because it was so clean.
Chris.
And frankly, he was open more than he got the ball. Like he could have had more catches than he did, right? Really, really good stuff there. I certainly don't, this is not me saying I think VB3 is going to regress or anything like that. I think he's poised to have another very good season as well. Honestly, the challenge for Faulkner, as we have mentioned, is with this embarrassment of riches because Mays being on this list too. How do you get them all the ball enough? Like, I'm really not sure. Like, but it should be a little easier because good luck double teaming. That's going to be a problem if you want to try to do that. So, I do think that there's a lot of options. So that's the reason for my order.
I got you.
Any thoughts on yours before we move on to run the ball?
I want to see, right. I want to see Wilson healthy. I want him to stay healthy. I want that foot to be good. I want it to be solid. I want him to produce. I want him to display the freak show that we saw at the glimpse of in the Texas game, fending off defenders, tight roping the sideline. And his range, his ability to extend the hands in that range, that catch, what do you call it? Catch radius.
Yeah,
phenomenal.
Radius. Yeah.
The main reason why I inched up VB3, and then great on Singleton. I agree with you. He got really good separation. He can turn it up.
Yep.
And he definitely was more open than he got the ball in the spring game. The reason why I put VB3 ahead goes back to the beginning of Summerall's tenure,
Mm,
the
Gauntlet.
gauntlet.
Yep.
So three things. The gauntlet, the fact that even Faulkner said, "Boy, this kid's around. He's here. He's here early. He's here late. He's soaking it in. He's a sponge."
Yep.
And then the ability for him to wear the jersey, the number one jersey, right?
Hmm.
Take the responsibility on. Now, very seldom. Having said all that, we know the hype. We know how many busts there have been. We know how wrong we've been. Very seldom do you see this much hype coming out of someone that we've actually seen on the field, that we've seen produce some amazing stuff. A little bit injury, a little bit of nicks and cuts here and there. Again, not used near where he should have been in the offense previously. But Gauntlet and the fact that he's hanging around the facility, putting the hours in, those are the main reasons why I put him ahead. And that's why I believe he is poised to have a massive fall and have really, really good production.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see the stat lines at the end of the year and what these look like if they're all able to stay healthy, which knock wood they will be this year. I really hope. Again, I'm really banking on this offseason training helping that a lot. I mean, obviously,
Yes,
injury somewhere that always happens, but we have been so plagued for 2 straight seasons. I mean, it's just been ridiculous to watch. I really hope that gets better.
we do.
All
And we
right.
have some unique problems, especially at wide receiver. So, yeah,
Yeah.
pick
Round this
poison.
thing out. Uh, Not a whole lot to say about Jaden that we haven't already said a million times over. Yep, you got it, man. Cannot wait to see him go. I just honestly hope the O line is able to provide enough gaps because he doesn't need a lot, right? We know he doesn't. His contact balance and his yards after contact, and the list just goes on and on and on with the strength and the agility and the everything else that he's got going on. It's just going to be fun. And I don't think there's any doubt that he was the most important player to retain. I think he's the most talented player possibly on the whole roster. If I was doing just a 1 to 11, I don't know that I could put anybody above him. It would be very hard. It would be very hard. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much all I got there. Again, we sung his praises plenty, and we're going to do it plenty more during the season in a few
Oh,
weeks.
yeah.
So, which, by the way, I think 60 days today. Go Gator football.
Oh,
Yeah, like the calendar's on me there, but if you count today, 60 days. So anyway, your thoughts on Jaden, and then we'll hit our takeaways up and close this thing out.
thank you, Billy Napier's brother, who was coaching
Yeah.
in Georgia and
Yep.
called Billy and said, "Hey, come take a look at this kid. Like, seriously, he's going to go to Arkansas and say pig suey or whatever they say up there. You might want to take a second look at him." And spot on to the coaching staff, the UAA, whatever they did to sign him. I love Summerall's approach as far as going to these kids' homes,
Yeah.
talk about their family, talking about life, not
Mhm.
just football, but not just the scheme, not how we're going to use you, not the amount of money we're going to pay you. Just, hey, we believe you to be a high character person, and you want to be around high character people, and we can build a really unique thing here. Come back to it and sold them the right way, positioned it the right way, packaged it the right way, and it worked.
Yep.
And obviously, Gator Nation received him the way you know that they should have. Him being the workhorse, the focal point of that backfield. So yeah, just so thankful to have him there and have him back.
Yeah, and what a cool kid. If you don't know the story, he's basically not spent any of his NIL money. I think he bought a car, and that was recent. Like, I mean, what kid does that nowadays? Like,
Yeah. Doesn't need Lambos, doesn't need, I mean,
no,
you know,
he bought Benz. Like, it's nice Benz, but it's not like it's
okay.
nothing crazy. So it's pretty wild. Pretty wild. All right. So takeaways from this list: 4 wide receivers on both lists,
Yeah.
right? So number one, obviously, no surprise, but the wide receiving core, yeah, it's going to be good. 2 running backs in the top 6 of both, right? So
Yes.
different one at 6 between Duke
Yeah.
and Pryor. Nonetheless, we had 2 running backs in the top 6 on both of our lists. So that's speaks to the talent there. And I think the question mark here is that you had more offensive linemen on your list than I did with
I
having
did.
three, but we both only had one returning offensive lineman on
Yes.
our list.
And you had
So
no
don't
tight
be
ends.
so
I had
ready. Right.
one.
I had him at 5, you had him at 10. It's Najee. Um, and actually, we're debating about how to pronounce his name. So we'll go Harris. Um, so, but we again only one returning player from last year's offensive line that made this list, and that's significant because if these transfers don't work
Yes.
out, ruh it's not
As
going to
as
be good.
as
So
Tommy Boy would say, or Richard would say, yikes.
yikes! Yeah, indeed, yeah. So that's definitely something to watch, right? And listen, I hope you're right. I hope that Boyer is great, like I said. I hope Shanahan works out a guard. I hope Harrison can play in the SEC at center, and I hope that Emeka is the talent that he looks like he could be potentially. Right, all those things. Right. So, but we might be starting with 4 transfers in Harris on the line, and some people are calling for us to do that with how the O line played last year, and I
Yeah,
get it. I understand. So we'll see. We'll see how it looks and what it looks like, but that's definitely the thing that stood out here. Again, it shows you some good things, but it also might show you some whoa spots, right? So that's something that definitely stood out to me when we were going through and looking at this. So, all right, with
absolutely.
that, we'll wrap this thing up. Definitely took a little longer than I think we thought, but it was
Yeah.
good. Enjoyed it. Good conversation here for sure. And thanks to everybody who hung in there with us and watched it. Now, if you thought this pod was long, wait till next week or
Yeah.
two now. Because we will be doing our schedule breakdown. I think our record for that pod is like an hour and 58 minutes. It is not a short one, folks. I will warn you now, and I'm not saying that because we don't want you to tune in. We do, for sure. But it is an involved podcast. We go through each opponent, we rank them out in terms of are they better or worse than last year, if we played them last year or if they're in the SEC, and we will break down what we think our chances are. We are going to modify that a little this year in terms of the chance piece. We'll talk about it next week. But
Yeah.
overall, it's a great pod. It's really good to be able to get into and really dive into the schedule, look at each opponent in detail, and it's a ton of research and work on our part in terms of what we put into that. So we really do hope that you will tune in for it. But yeah, it's not short. I'm not going to lie. So a lot of research equals lots of things to talk about. So there you go. But yeah, so again, enjoyed this. It was fun to take a look at it, really kind of break this thing down. And yeah, turn it over to you. What are your thoughts to close it out here and sign us off?
Yeah, man. Really unique exercise when you talk about, hey, top 10, top 11 on the team. I like the way we did it because I tell you what, I will say this. My big reveal was, besides the personnel that we picked, it was harder than I thought. Much harder than I
Yeah,
thought. I thought, okay, yeah,
yeah,
top 11, offense and defense, no problem. This will be cake. And it turned out not to be. It took
yeah,
me almost 40 minutes each side of the football
yeah.
just to get it down to 11. And that's why I had to break it up into position group on each side of the football. So
Hmm.
that was definitely helpful there. But no, a good exercise nonetheless to see what we got working with this fall, the groups that we need to look at, some of the players we need to look at more specifically. So, no, either way, great way to go through it. And our next spot coming up here on the 21st. Yes,
Yep.
we'll be discussing the 2026 schedule and detailed look at each matchup. No, that's not a 2-part or a 3-part series. We're going to get it through in one recording, one
Yeah.
night, 2 men, lots of data. Let's go. And then
Yes.
we after that, we're going to get into our regular cadence going into the fall here as we approach season 4.
Sure. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Blow your
Wow.
mind. Blow your
Unbelievable,
mind. I
man.
can't believe we've
But
been doing it for almost the end of year 3 coming up. Pretty wild. Pretty wild.
exactly. So time flies when you're having to produce a podcast. No, but thank you all for listening. As you all hopefully know by now, Ben and I do this out of our love and passion for Gator football, Gator athletics, all that jazz. And so we just appreciate you tuning in. Obviously, we have the podcast that we're going. You get to see our radio faces, so that's great there. We're getting adjusted as we look at our settings and technology issues and sound and mic and all that crap. So either way, wherever you are, whenever you may be listening, thank you for taking the time, and we will see you around, Gator Nation.